Hello, welcome back to the Midnight Quill podcast. In our 5th episode of the series, we're talking about getting reader reviews. I'm one of your hosts, Tegan, also known as TC Emerys. I'm a writer, professional ghostwriter, and fiction editor. My debut short story collection, The Weight of Rain, was released last year.
Hi, I'm Naomi Kelly. I'm an Irish indie author. I specialise in young adult fantasy, and all of my books have myth and magic and kissing and killing. My most recent series is the Siren Stories. Meraki came out last year in May, and Kairos released this March, so they're both available now.
Hi, I'm Roxanna Revell. I'm a British indie author. I released my debut Because of Hattie last year, and I've just released my second novel, The Beneath, which is the first in a dystopian series. It's got dark romance, thriller, crime, bit of a mix.
Reviews are invaluable to self-published and indie authors, but you may know that it's quite difficult to get readers to leave their honest reviews on Amazon, Goodreads, and social media. For example, I've seen other authors theorize that around only 10% of readers actually leave a review. With this in mind, what would you two say is the reason that readers don't always leave reviews?
If you're in the bookish community, if the people reading your books are on Bookstagram where they're posting, you can pretty much guarantee they're going to leave you a review. Not always on Amazon, but definitely Goodreads. But your average reader on the street, it's do they review books? Do they review anything? Not everyone reviews anything that they buy, really, do they? 1 in 20% or something on all Amazon products.
We had Angie Mack on for our last episode, and she was saying that before she was an author, she didn't really think about reviewing books at all. And you do, it's not even because you didn't enjoy the book.
They might recommend it to a friend, but they don't necessarily think, oh, I'll go and write something about that.
People that are in the bookish community are much more aware of their importance, and they're normally book reviewers anyway. I know they don't mean any harm by it, but even my own friends and family, you can't fully believe that they're going to review, because they might be like, I loved your book, it's great. And you want to be like, did you tell the internet that? Or, if someone is naturally a book reviewer anyway, you're more likely to get it from them. But it's very hard to get your average, like you were saying, on the street person to become a book reviewer or any sort of reviewer if they aren't already.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think that a new author might be inclined to be upset that people aren't leaving a review and not really think about the fact that it's just not even on someone's radar. Even if they did really love it, it might not be the first thing they think of. The other thing that I tend to get is that lots of people will review The Weight of Rain on social media. So like they'll write a post on Instagram, but then they won't go over to Goodreads and Amazon. And in some ways that's okay, because probably more people will see it on Instagram than on Amazon, but that is why you end up with so few Amazon reviews that get left up. I think I've got like 11 or something. So
yeah, I think I've got almost half the amount. Actually, they took one away, so yeah, about half the amount of reviews on Amazon as I've got on Goodreads for Because of Hattie.
Yeah, that's probably something else that we should talk about, actually. That's a good point, that reviews do get taken away on Amazon all the time.
Not even with any rhyme or reason, and trust me, trying to get hold of customer service is a mission.
Nightmare.
You don't have an email anymore, you have to do live chat or have them call you. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I don't know if you two have noticed this, but I sent somebody my book on the Canadian Amazon yesterday, and I have way less reviews on the Canadian Amazon than I do on the UK Amazon.
If you looked on Amazon, if you could go onto Amazon.com and look at your book, you'll probably only see the US reviews. Whereas I think in the UK you do get to see both, but depending on where you are, you don't get to see everyone's reviews.
Interesting.
I have noticed that as well, because like I think on the UK site it'll show, say, like 5 or 6 reviews, and at the bottom it'll say click for international or from other countries. But if I ever click on a different country site like America or Canada, it just shows 2 reviews from like Kindle readers in the US or something. So it looks way less.
And I don't even know how you would combat that. Would you sort of go out of your way to get American readers just so it looks better on Amazon.com? I don't know. Like
it's more even or something, because there's so much more in one country than the other.
Yeah. Let's talk about ARCs for a moment, or ARCs. You can pronounce it 2 different ways, as we found out last time we were talking about them. For our listeners, an ARC or an ARC is an advanced reader copy, essentially copies of the book that are sent out to reviewers or social media influencers before the release, in the hopes that they will review the book and aid your launch day, essentially boost your sales or your pre-orders. So turning to our 2 guests, do you have any tips and tricks to share regarding ARCs, ARCs?
I think my best advice would be get more people than you need because
Yeah.
although people don't mean to, and they you know, they're not doing any harm, or they're not going out of their way to be malicious or anything, a lot of people won't do what they sign up to, even if they really, really think that they have the time, and you know, they make plans, but like it just falls through. Like, say for my most recent book, Kairos, I think I had like 30 art people. Some of them were just for reviews, some of them were just for posts, but I think I got like maybe 12 launch day reviews, because people just forget, or they don't read it, or they message you on the day being like, you know, my cat's grandfather died and blah blah blah, and like people, life just gets in the way. So my advice would be, get more than you ever think you're going to need, and then you could have a great thing where everyone reviews and you get loads and loads and loads, but you definitely need more than you think you do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think I read somewhere someone suggesting do about 50 or something, but you've got to get 50 people plus interested in actually doing it to begin with.
And it's tricky sometimes. All of my ARC reviewers, I think I sent paperbacks because they wanted paperbacks like in return, which I think is perfectly fair enough. But if you're gonna then do 50 ARCs, I mean,
that's expensive.
It's really pricey.
Out of mine, only 2 wanted a paper copy, because they only ever read paper copies. Everyone else had a Kindle version.
Maybe it's just my subsect of readers. I don't know, but yeah, I think it's a really good way to connect with the bookish community as well. If you, so that was another question I was going to ask both of you actually. Have you used BookFunnel or NetGalley or any of those other like ARC tools, or did you find ARC readers yourself?
I've never used any of those, so I've got no experience on those. I did, as you know, Tegan, I did everything backwards because of Hattie, so I didn't do ARC reviews that time. I'm actually in the middle of that process right now, actually, with them coming in and people reading it and getting feedback, but I did it all myself.
Oh, okay. Same here, actually. So what about you, Naomi?
I did a lot of my art searching through Instagram, so feeds, feed features and stories and things like that, and just word of mouth. And I definitely found it easier to get ARCs with the first book in the series than the sequel, because I had to try and find people that had read the first book or who were willing to read both, which was not something I'd really thought about. So I found that kind of hard to get a big pool of people for the second book.
I recently read an ARC for a 3rd book in a series, but I'd actually read the first 2 books myself, because she was an indie author. She was recommended by another one. So when I knew that the 3rd one was coming out, I sort of volunteered my services anyway, but she used a company. So they ended up having to give out the 1st and 2nd books for free as well. You have to commit to an entire series to review the 3rd book. I sort of did my ARCs in 2 stages this time, because I got myself a street promo team together. The people that were interested in joining that were people that had already read because of Hattie, or people I had a bit of a relationship with. I knew that they already kind of liked what I wrote, so that was kind of safe territory. So I had them on, and they did the first round of reviews, and then I did, through them and through me, we did a call out for more, and I made myself a Google sheet. I think they're called Google Sheets, aren't they? Where you can do the questionnaire. I think I got 18 responses from that, and I got to tell you, when I first went through that list, I had about 4 in yes, a couple that were definite no's, because you've got to vet them, haven't you? I was sort of going through Instagram. They didn't really have much of a presence, or weren't really reviewing, or I just generally didn't think my book was for them. But then I had a massive maybe pile, and it was actually Angela Mack who's reviewed as well, because she was one of my alpha and beta readers, who said, have some faith and look at the people, look at, their ratings and how many people are responding, and just have a bit of faith. So I did end up increasing how many I sent it to. And then one of my street teams said, can I make it a book of the month in my reading group? And again, I was like, ooh, these are people that I can't vet, because these are people in your group that I'm not going to find out about until afterwards. So again, I was a little bit apprehensive about that, but I just asked her to read it first, and then asked her to pick the people that she thought would like that sort of thing. So so mine kind of expanded. I was asking people to give me their Instagram handles and their Goodread handles, so you can have a fish through and just try to match up to people that you think have read similar books, I guess, really, and enjoyed similar books. I mean, to be fair, one of the people I thought would hate it because I sort of took a chance on her, because she seems to read a lot of classics, turned out to love it. It's hard. You can control who you send your ARCs to some extent, but there's definitely a risk-taking element to it as well. And you just have to take yourself out of your comfort zone and just kind of commit to doing it, really, don't you?
Yeah, and I think it's really difficult to choose people based on what they've previously read, and sometimes you just have to sort of take a bit of a chance. Mine is a short story collection, so I trying to find people who exclusively like short story collections was never going to work. So I mostly sent it to people who like classics and contemporary fiction and that kind of thing, because it falls into those categories. But you have to put yourself out of your comfort zone, like you say. It's a bit scary to approach people.
And it is.
Yeah, and some people will say no, and that's okay, and you need to be able to like take it and just not take it personally and just be like, yeah, okay, that's fine, you're passing on it, that's fine, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's better as well for someone to be like, I don't really think your book would suit me, or like, you know, I don't read that genre, rather than them being like, okay, and then hating it because they don't know, you know, what to expect or what tropes are common and, you know, things like that. So it's better for them to say no at the start than hate it for no reason.
I have found a couple of my reviews. One of them, first of all, said, this is not my thing usually. I was like, wish I'd known that.
I've actually been on the other end of it, because constantly apologizing to C.A. Campbell, who is an author on Instagram. She wrote a book called Heresy, which is a dystopia, because I got her arc back in September or so, and it was coming out in November, and I didn't finish it until February. So I've been like the other end of it. So I can try and like sympathize with my own ARC readers that sometimes life gets in the way, and like and you know, it wasn't anything to do with the book. The book is great. I gave it 5 stars in the end. I hope she forgives me, but anyway.
You gave her a 5-star. I'm sure she's all right in the end.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like I wouldn't have given it a rating just because of that, you know. It was really good. I'm not just saying that. So because that's, I think, well, your article on the blog about review swaps, Roxanna, was kind of, that is the tricky thing, isn't it, of like agreeing to swap with someone and then feeling like you have to give them a high rating.
I'm on Goodreads quite a lot, especially at the moment, because things are updating and I'm constantly like, oh, does somebody else put a review on? I have a bit of a policy that I don't share what books I'm reading anymore, because I only read indie author books. So I obviously know how important reviews are, so I should review, but I feel it's kind of political as well. I don't want to give someone a 3-star review, because even though 3 stars, I'm saying this is a good book and people will like it, it just didn't rock my world. Nobody really wants to be told that they didn't rock your world. So when I do get an ARC to read, I do feel like, oh God, I can't really give it less than 4, can I really? Because they know I'm reading it.
I think there is a thing in like the independent author community of sort of, we all give each other good ratings, and sometimes it's not actually that helpful, especially if it's someone's like first book, or you know, I mean, with The Weight of Rain, I initially had 5-star reviews for like the first few months. Every single review I got was 5 stars, which is lovely. But at the same time, I was kind of like waiting for the other shoe to drop, because you're always waiting for like someone outside of your pool of people, or like outside of Instagram or outside of independent authors, to review it and give it 1 star, and then like everything's shattered. And so this actually leads me on to my next point. In episode 3 of this series, we were talking about social media marketing with virtual book tours. And that was actually something that I used for The Weight of Rain, to get like reviews from a wider range of people. And that was when I started getting the 4 stars and the 3 stars. And to be honest, some of those mean more to me now than some of the 5 stars, because they were honest and more sort of, they didn't feel like flattery, they felt like honest reviews. And so
I don't understand the concept of virtual tours. I really, how do these things work? I see them all the time. I don't get it.
they're really cool, actually.
They're quite handy if you're an indie author. They're a great way of like reaching other people that probably wouldn't, you know, have found you organically. It's just like a company or a page that hosts the tour. You reach out to them, they reach out to you, and they might find 10 or 20 hosts who are people who run Bookstagram accounts or something. They'll share a picture of your book or a review, and depending on what style of tour you go for. And normally it's all ebooks that you send them. You don't have to send paperbacks most of the time. So I did one for my launch with Feather Book Tours, and they did 10 hosts, one every day, and they all had read the ebook file, put up a review, and then at the end of the week I gave away 1 signed paperback, so they tied in a competition with it, and it was a really helpful way to get 10 reviews and also have a competition at the same time. So it is actually quite helpful.
They're really good. I would agree. Sorry, who was that you used? Feather Book Tour?
The Feather and Dove book tour.
Oh, I've seen them around. Yeah, I used Empire
really
Book Tours, who I would highly recommend. I mean, obviously it costs money, but I would say that I really saw a good difference in sales from using especially Empire Book Tours. I also used Book Fox Tours, who they're completely free. Yeah, they just do it out of the kindness of their hearts. Basically, this is two indie authors. We actually, episode 3 featured Shauna from Book Fox Tour, and yeah, she's a lovely lady, and her friend Janine, they work together, and because they're both indie authors, they know how important it is, and they organize these tours. And yeah, so like Naomi was saying, you get 10, maybe 20, it depends on, you know, what package you want to choose, bookstagrammers. And the thing that I liked most about it was that you get like a real range of bookstagrammers. I think one of them had like 10,000 followers on one of the ones I did, all the way down to like 200 followers, but the impacts of them was like not what I was expecting. So like the person with 200 followers had 200 followers who were like really loyal and really engaging or whatever, and like it actually across the entire tour, everyone helped me out in one way or the other, whether it was promoting or, you know, working together on the giveaway and that kind of thing. And I would highly recommend.
These people obviously know who to target and that sort of thing, don't they? And that's part of the battle, really, isn't it? Finding the right people.
Do you have any tips for authors on how to use existing reviews successfully in their marketing? For example, I don't know if you guys saw this, I saw that the author of, I don't know how to say this, so I'm just going to take a stab at it, The Last Fayoe, don't know, by Tahani Nelson. She had great success using a 1-star review which was homophobic towards her main character to garner support for her series. I was just wondering, have you seen anything similar to that using existing reviews, or have you done anything like that yourselves?
I think I saw something similar on Instagram. It was for a book that was kind of like reverse harem and like just pure kink basically, and somebody said something about it. I think they tried to use that to their advantage. It's like, this is what you're going to get in this book. I wasn't painting it as anything else, so this guy's like nailed it on the head. I haven't personally done that, no. Actually, that's not true. There's one woman who read because of Hattie and hated my love interest because it's an age gap and he's 20 years older, and she just saw him as this predator and really had a massive rant about it. And yet she still gave 5 stars because she, although she hated the guy, she hated the relationship, she's the only person that actually hates him as far as I'm aware, she focused on the fact that she felt those things and she felt that connection, she felt that anger. So I did kind of use, look, this girl hates him but she's still done this kind of thing. So
Oh, interesting. We in the first series we talked about whether a character needs to be likable for you to enjoy a book, and we kind of concluded that like that's not actually what makes you connect to a character. So like you can have a burning hatred for like the Twilight romance or something, but you could still enjoy, you know, the book. Sorry, I'm not comparing your book to Twilight. That was just like the first romance that came
I wouldn't object to having her following all herself.
That's true, yeah. So the example that I brought up, I think how it worked for her really is that the review was really nasty, like the 1-star, just nasty homophobic stuff about her main character being gay, basically. And what it worked to do, she actually like boosted it as an advert, was bring in people who wanted to read about a gay relationship, basically, because they were like, oh yeah, cool, I'll read that. And also got her a bit of sympathy, I suppose, from people who were sort of going against this homophobic rant. So
there's like a new trend going around. It's still pretty new, but it's turning like bad reviews into inspirational quotes. Have you seen that?
I've seen that, yeah.
It's so funny.
I think it's Kristen Granata to do one. That was quite funny.
It's so funny, but it's like, you know how if you type in like inspirational quotes into YouTube or into Google, it's like a sunset with like font. And it'll be someone being like, I hated this book. Little snippets of negative comments, but like put together into like a funny like reel or like PowerPoint. And it's actually really funny because like
one of those.
It kind of makes the book and the author feel a bit more like down to earth sometimes, because like I don't know, I do it as well sometimes, but like I always share like my good reviews and like it'll be like, oh, you know, review of the week or something, and like put up all the good ones. But like if you get bad ones, it's sometimes funny sharing them, being like, oh well, that happens, you know.
I think it also shows that you can sort of laugh at yourself and take a bit of criticism maybe. But on the other hand, like we do kind of expect to get reviews like that. especially if you're doing everything right and you're really getting it out there and making lots of sales, eventually you're gonna get like a really shitty 1-star review, and that's okay. You gotta roll with it.
I got a really funny one for my first book, and I just always remember it, where it was like in December and she was doing like her end of the year Goodreads wrap up kind of thing, and she was like, I don't really remember reading this book, to be honest. It's kind of like a fever dream, but from what I remember, she was like, from what I remember, I thought the main love interest talked like Data from Star Trek, and like I don't know if that's a plot point, like is he secretly a robot or something? And I was like, no, no, he's not a robot. I read it a few times and was like, is this the right book? Like, is this definitely what book she's talking about? Like, I read it and was a bit like stung at the time, and then a few days passed and I was like, that's kind of hilarious. Like,
It's just really funny. Yeah.
She's expecting to remember all the detail, like her yearly wrap up. You have to do it as you go along.
I haven't. This is gonna sound really bad for like my ego, but I haven't actually had a review bad enough to like blast it in this way. I haven't had any 1-star reviews yet, so I'm almost excited to get one so that I can do this.
About Goodreads is when you see a 1 and a 2 with no explanation. It's like, oh, come on, give a reason for it, you know? Because I see it on books and it just looks, when you've got like a load of high ones and then like a random percentage of like 1s and 2s with no reviews, it really does just look like sabotage to me. And you're looking at it, you're thinking, are you just trying to bring this person's book rating down, or do you have like a genuine feeling? Because
personal issue or something.
Yeah, if you are a book reader and you felt so strongly enough that you would give it a 1 or a 2, surely you've got a reason behind it that you can share.
There are like bots who go around and give people 1-star reviews. It's really odd. Me and my partner like discovered this, so it's kind of a long story that I won't go into, but basically I met this independent author in a really strange way because he like blasted me for something. It's not really relevant, but anyway, and I went onto one of his books on Goodreads just to have a look, and he had like a bunch of 1 stars that didn't say anything at all, and then we like clicked on all of them and they were all reviewing about 500 books a day 1 star.
Rare.
And then there was like a handful of other ratings mixed in there, but it was mostly like really low, and they didn't have anything personal on there. They never wrote anything. It was really odd. So there are bots on Goodreads. I don't know how or why. Maybe don't feel bad if you get a 1-star review of nothing. It might just be a bot. If you guys could give a debut self-published author one tip about getting reader reviews, what would it be?
Have a thick skin. Just to prepare yourself for what comes in, because as much as it hurts, as much as you want to be able to please every single person on this planet, the greats can't do it. So, you know,
if you get like a bad review and it like hurts you and you're a bit like upset about it, one thing that like I think is really helpful to remember that is that I read it during the week. I think it's like Twilight again coming up has as many 1 and 2-star ratings as it does 4 and 5. If you add them together, it's like the same. So like that's one of the most popular books of our time, and like has a franchise and everything. So like if Stephanie Meyer can't get all 4 and 5s, like you shouldn't be expecting yourself to either.
Yeah, even Harry Potter doesn't have all 4s and 5s, does it?
Exactly.
Like,
it still has a load of, 1s and 2s, and people give out about silly things. And
exactly. Some people dig really deep, like this is such a bad influence on young girls. It's like, can't you just, see it as a story, as a nice piece of writing, and just did you enjoy the writing, the world created?
The only time that it maybe is worth thinking about is if there's like something genuinely problematic, and I use that word sparingly, but like something that is really problematic in the book. And I mean stuff like I can't mention any of it on YouTube, but things that aren't consensual and aren't like presented as non-consensual, if you see what I mean. There's lots of books that like romanticize and glorify violence, and if you get a reader review that sort of points that kind of thing out, I don't know, maybe like I'm thinking from the point of view of like 50 Shades of Grey and Twilight and that kind of thing, but obviously not our books personally, but sometimes there is room to grow from reviews, and even if it's not something problematic. I mean, there were a few reviews that I had that weren't bad reviews but had things that were like criticisms or critiques that have sort of helped me to think about my future writing and what I want to be putting out into the world. So
you can use them as a learning curve, especially if you have given yourself time and you've got the early reviews out there.
Yeah.
So if you're getting feedback from your ARC reviews, and there is a constant theme of something that isn't quite working in the book, then use that period of time to address it, and you can change it.
Absolutely.
So it can definitely, in the early days, if you've got the time, it can definitely be a learning experience. I mean, hopefully that's the sort of thing your beta readers would catch. But if you're relying on friends that aren't necessarily being that constructive in their feedback, which I think we've all done in the past, you can definitely use it as a learning experience in that respect. And that's the plus side of being an indie author. We can upload our documents again. We can tweak things, Absolutely. Kindle isn't set in stone, and neither is the paperback. You can just upload a new document if you really need to, and then just, if you want to announce that you've changed things and re-edited, then great.
Yeah, that's another thing maybe we should talk about, relaunching. Didn't Angie Mack do that? She got new covers for her books.
She didn't really launch the content. She had the cover for the first one, I Am Unworthy, redone while she was doing the pre-launch stuff for I Am Unbreakable. Mm-hmm. And then she had the cover for I Am Unbreakable done by the same person. So there was a new scene for the two books.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a really great way to bring in like new reviewers, because that was actually the first time I was aware of Angie's books, was because I saw the new covers. And I'm sure I had seen her old covers, because obviously when you relaunch, you're kind of like getting that momentum again to sort of like push it back up. So I get a lot of these cold messages, I'm sure you guys do, from people with book related services, or I get a lot of these like book candle people for some reason. They just like seem really drawn to me, and they're always like, I don't know why, but they like always message me and say like, oh, we're selling these candles at the moment, do you want to be involved? And I think
a lot of people doing candles, but I've not been contacted by someone.
I have gotten quotes to get candles at some
really
point. I think it actually will be really cool, but anyway, that's in the future. But anyway, but my point was that from interacting with their messages, I have kind of learned like the way not to do it on Instagram, because some of them, I'm not going to name like any people or companies, but some of them just go about it in such the wrong way. They're like, we've got this thing, we want you to do it, we'll pay you, or something like that. Don't do that with ARC reviews. Go into it as if you're like asking someone a favor. Be personal, and sort
this is who I am, this is my journey, this is my book.
Take the time to be aware of who they are as well. Like, don't just copy and paste the same blob of text to everyone. Go and like get their name off of their Instagram and say like, hi Jess or whatever, and see what kind of books they read, and go, oh, I saw that you read this book, you might like to be a real person about it, I suppose is what I'm saying. Don't be a bot.
I find that when people contact you about reviewing, I always know who they are, and I know it always starts with, hi, how are you? Oh, I'm really interested in reviewing your book. Oh, okay, great, yeah, it's on Kindle Unlimited, knock yourself out. Oh yeah, but I charge my services. Oh, do you?
I got one of those messages this morning. I woke up to one, and what kills me, if there are any like book reviewers listening, I know that that's your job and your service, and like you do you, and that's your page, and I'm not just in your business, but I think the way a lot of them go about it could use a bit of tweaking.
They want to engage you in a conversation first, but I just want to know what they want, to be honest with you.
Sometimes I get like a list of prices and services, and I'm like, okay, that's fine, you've given me all the information. I don't personally pay for reviews for Instagram, but thank you for sending over everything. But the woman who messaged me this morning seems genuinely interested, and it's kind of like hurts a little bit, because she was like, oh, your book seems great, I really, really want to review it, can I feature it on my feed? And I was like, red flag, which book? Like, give me a name, I have a few of them. And then she, like, you could almost hear her like frantically going to my page, like looking for it.
I get that all the time, actually. People say to me like, I like your book, and I'm like,
if you liked it, you wouldn't contact me about reviewing it, you would just read it and review it.
Yeah, there's that too, like, please just buy it.
Some of the prices are like so high. Someone's like, I want a signed paperback copy shipped halfway across the world and $100. I'm like, I'm not, like, I'm an indie author, I don't have a big marketing house behind me.
I find that a lot of these people are based in India, and my books aren't actually on sale on Amazon in India. Because there are restrictions, because it's 18 plus in indie. So if it's 18 plus in indie, you're automatically on a blacklist. So I tend to look at these people, and I look at the people that are replying to their messages. I'm like, well, I could go down this route, but I don't think I'm actually going to get any sales from it, because my book isn't going to sell to these people.
It's hard. Like, if you find someone who's genuinely interested in a review but does have a fee, and you think that it would work for your book sales and you might get other readers and other reviewers, then consider it. But a lot of the time you will just be paying this one person to read your book, and their review won't hold more weight than another review.
I have actually I have gone down a paid route this time, I kind of really just to research it. But it's not just because they do a review, they do like some nice cover images, they do like an edit with a video that you can use as well, and because it's not really that expensive, I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a try, see if it makes a difference, so I can at least say I know I've tried it. I've got the Bookstagrammers, you know, doing other reviews as well. I thought I'll give this one a go just to see. And I also looked at their feed as well, and they do actually have a lot of names that I recognise. So they aren't just sort of one country of origin set, you know, there's definitely global stuff there. But yeah, no, I'll see how it goes. I thought, you know, it wasn't that expensive. I'm not going to go down the paid review as such, but I think it's because they offer sort of a full round package of a service. They do a bit of an author interview as well, kind of thing. So it isn't
almost
just
a virtual book tour. That's like maybe
I have done a virtual tour without even realizing it. So it's only one person reading the book, but they do, like I say, they do an author feature, and they do it sort of over a month period. So I thought I'd give that a go just to see. It's like the only paid thing of them, really.
And at least that's like personal to you. You know, they're mentioning your name and they're talking to you, and it's not just like this book out now shared. Where's my 50 euro?
Exactly.
You know, so at least it's, you know, to do with you, and you're more involved with it. So like, that sounds like a great service.
Yeah, it felt different to the ones that have contacted me to say, I just want to read your book and I've got all these followers and this and that, and I'm thinking, they're not for me. So we'll see how it goes. They've just done the first post. If you look on my story, you'll see the video they've done, actually.
I'm gonna go check that out. I'm curious. You know, like I'm not opposed to paying for any kind of marketing, to be honest. I think the thing that I would say, like you guys have kind of warned, is just make sure they're genuine. Like, because when they're asking you for that kind of money, like $100 is a lot of money.
Yeah, I've never seen anyone ask for that much. Crikey.
Oh yeah, I've had a couple who have been like that kind of money, and they're just offering one review. They're not offering like, oh, I'll market it for.
I put my review on Goodreads. It's oh great, everybody else does as well.
And you know, like I'm not against it, but just you need to really make sure who you're talking to. And I think you can get a good gut feeling, and it goes both ways though, because when you contact ARC reviewers, you need to make sure that you're giving them that gut feeling that you're not a complete weirdo who's like, you know, you're gonna send them some really dodgy book. It's tricky.
Some of the people that I contacted back in the first sort of few months of it all are now on my street team. One of them is an alpha and beta reader for me. So, you know, you can find those long-lasting relationships as well, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that once you have an ARC reviewer for like one book, they might want to come back for another one. Like, what about you, Naomi? I know you've got quite a few books out. Have you ended up with the same ARC reviewers like multiple times?
With the first book I released, my debut novel, Trial by Obsidian, that was like my first book. It was my first time experiencing reviews and everything. So I didn't really have a super strong ARC team because I was 20 and I was like, oh, people will read my book. I definitely didn't have like a big enough launch team to get me out the gate and kind of get the ball rolling with reviews. So I think I had like 12 beta readers, and I was like, well, that's 12 reviews. And then I was like, oh, this is like 4 reviews. Because people just get busy and things. But I'm really lucky that some of the people that have read my first book have been with me all the way. So there's a Welsh author, Estelle Grace Tudor. She has been my beta reader for every single book, and she's like the best beta reader ever. Like, if she agrees to read your book, it's like the best thing, because she will go through with an A4 page and write down any little typo, anytime a full stop is in the wrong place. You're like, you are a dream sent. So I've been so lucky to have her help me the whole way. And then it's amazing because her reviews mean so much to me on each of my books, because she's been there since like blank page idea. So like I really appreciate that. One service that I've found with my third book, Kairos, Booksprout. Have you used them? I popped up like a book TikTok thing being like looking for reviewers, that kind of a system, and someone commented and was like, have you heard of Booksprout? And I hadn't heard of it. I'd heard of like Book Funnel and NetGalley and all those things. And I was always a bit wary of them because some of them could be quite expensive. Your books can be given to people that are super critical, which obviously you want your book to go out to the masses and you want everyone's opinion. But like, I kind of view them as like, there's readers and then there's like book critics. And
Yeah.
I was just like, I don't want to pay, you know, some of the NetGalley services can go up to like $250. And I was like, I don't want to pay that much just to get my books slated before I've even really got it out there. But I definitely recommend Booksprout. You can use it for ARC services, or if your book's already out, and it's completely free. They have like a fancy premium version, but you can upload your book and get 20 readers for each version of your story. So if you have a couple of books, you can pop them all up, and they take care of finding the people, the downloads, everything, and they will keep emailing them reminders to help put up their reviews so that people don't just download your book and then kind of don't bother. So yeah, I found that very helpful, and that's something I did this time around, which I hadn't done before. And like, it is free. You're going to find people that are already on the website looking to review books.
Really interesting. Thanks for sharing your experience with that.
It's a good one, and I hadn't heard of it before, and I only heard of it because someone on TikTok or whatever recommended it. So it's kind of a lesser known one, but then they don't charge, and I still got, you know, I think I got like 5 or 6 reviews for each book, which was very helpful.
Wow,
great.
That's brilliant.
Goodreads has groups in there.
Yes.
And I think I saw them on, it was the New Adult Book Club, New Adult Romance. I contacted them, and they basically say, if your book ticks our boxes, we will advertise it to the people who are in our group on Goodreads, and they'll do a read and review for a free e-copy. So that, I think I got really 5 reviews out of that because of Hattie. So yeah, if you've got sort of a niche group on Goodreads, they're worth reaching out to as well.
Yeah, interesting. I didn't know about any of this.
Yeah.
It's really cool to speak to lots of independent authors, and then like you've all done the same thing but totally differently, you know, like, and everyone's got loads of tips and tricks.
Well, this is it. There's no right or wrong way, is it? It's learning on the go, finding what works for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. The other thing I was going to mention is that when I was launching The Weight of Rain, I had a couple of bloggers do interviews for me, which I found were really useful for getting reviews specifically. So some of them did like a package where they would read the book and review it and then interview you. And then some of them would get like a few people to review as well as like an interview. And I don't know if that's a standard thing, or I just like, I sort of just came across these people on, I think it was actually on Facebook, in like Facebook groups that were, you know, relatively new blogs, but with like an established readership of maybe 20 people or 30 people, or you know.
I found one of those as well. I used to be on Facebook a lot, but Instagram seems to just take over now, and I'm just, it's hard to just sit on do both.
All of it, yeah.
But yeah, I did actually meet a lady, Debbie Civil. She runs a website called Free Reads, and she basically just put a post up saying, if your book's free on Kindle, tell me a bit about it. If I like it, I will review it and put it on my website. And a lot of the Bookstagrammers have blogs as well, so you don't just get it on Instagram, they'll pop it on their blog as well.
Yeah.
I do think one of the best ways to like get reviews is to do all of the kind of smaller free things first before you think about investing in like a really big review promotion. Like, you know, do the Facebook groups and the Goodreads groups and the Booksprout and like things like that. Try all of them first to get like the ball rolling and get your reviews in. And then if you want to pay for something bigger or go to like more extreme paid critic people, then you can. But I think do everything if you can do that's free promo, try it. You know, you're not going to lose anything.
We've said everything we want to say about getting reader reviews. Drop us a comment below. How do you get your reader reviews? How do you send out your arcs? Thank you very much to our 2 guests, Naomi Kelly and Roxanna C. Revell, for coming on. Go and check out Naomi's book, Meraki, and Roxanna has just released another book called The Beneath. So go and check them out on social media. We'll leave the links below. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube so that you don't miss any of our future episodes. Next episode is the final episode of this series, all about self-publishing. The next episode is called Book Release Day, so we're going to be talking about all the things you need to do just before you release a book to make sure you get lots of pre-orders and sales on the day. We also have a Patreon where you can support us for as little as £1 a month, so go and check that out in the description. Okay, thank you. Next time.